Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us remotely, I have Halie LeSavage. She's a retail writer at Morning Brew. We're going to take a look at the retail sector and direct-to-consumer brands, how they're starting to go the QVC home shopping network route. Halie, it's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining. And retail, that's always been a sector of the haves and the have-nots. But of course, in recent weeks, COVID-19 has really put that to a test. Let's take a look at the retail industry with, an overall view of what you're seeing right now.
Of course. Well, first of all, Jill, thank you so much for having me today. As you mentioned, retail is starkly divided between the industry players who are well positioned to assist consumers in a large-scale crisis and those who don't offer those same sorts of essential products. So at the moment, we're seeing large-scale retailers like Target, Walmart, Amazon, Costco, who offer essentials like groceries and household cleaning supplies, really drawing in large waves of customers, while more discretionary companies like department stores, Macy's, Nordstrom, and the like are noting huge declines in consumer traffic and thus having to make adjustments like layoffs and store closures to stay afloat amid the escalating virus situation.
Yeah, Macy's furloughing their customers this morning, their employees this morning at their retail stores. So how is COVID-19 specifically impacting retail?
COVID-19 puts retailers in a really difficult situation in that around 89% of U.S. retail sales last year were made in stores. However, to prevent the spread of the virus, most health organizations recommend social distancing, which includes temporary store closures. Originally, retailers thought that they would only have to close for around 2 weeks, and we saw those announcements coming in mid-March with everyone from, the large department stores that I mentioned to smaller apparel and beauty retailers deciding that they would temporarily close their doors. Now, because the situation has continued to spiral, retailers are having to extend the time that their stores are closed. That is making a drastic impact on their sales figures, and e-commerce hasn't quite yet picked up the slack for the sales that they're missing in stores.
So who are the winners and losers going to be following the recovery?
It's a little early to say who exactly is going to be standing at the other side of this crisis, and that's largely because we simply don't know how long it will last, and typically retailers don't have the cash reserves on hand to sustain operations as normally as possible when their stores are closed for an extended period. Judging by how consumers are acting right now, with leaning heavily into essential purchases and pulling back from discretionary items, I would wager that retailers falling into the categories of grocery and wholesale clubs will be the ones that are really strong on the other side of this crisis because they're delivering a service that is truly necessary for consumers at this time. Meanwhile, as you mentioned Macy's as an example, that's a retailer that sells all sorts of products that are great for customers in average times, but because they're having to think more strategically about how they're shopping, retailers in that sort of segment aren't well positioned to thrive following the end of COVID-19.
All right, now direct to consumer. Explain to us what that is and why they are going towards QVC.
It's an interesting transition. So direct-to-consumer typically stands for a form of retail distribution through which the retailer, whether it be someone who's making glasses like a Warby Parker or mattresses like a Casper, works directly with their suppliers to manufacture, produce, and distribute their products to customers. So in their parlance, they're cutting out the middleman to make prices as low as possible for consumers while still offering a quality product. Over time, direct-to-consumer has expanded to kind of refer to a mindset that newer retailers are adopting, meaning that they're very savvy with younger millennial customers and all adopt a very obvious form of branding on social media. Thinking about these sorts of companies, it would seem strange that they're interested in home shopping networks like QVC because QVC and HSN typically attract much older audiences. However, that audience last year was nearly 11 million customers, and approximately 93% of sales at QVC and HSN came from repeat or reactivated customers. So because those audiences are so loyal and so ready to shop as soon as they turn on the TV, these younger direct-to-consumer brands are interested in selling their products on home shopping networks so they can discreetly reach those very active, very dedicated older consumers without sacrificing that younger social media savvy audience they've already built.
That's really interesting. Now, do you think work from home is going to increase TV usage in e-commerce, or are we just all going to run for the doors to get out of the house and get back into the mall, get back into the restaurants, the bars? Or do you think, this is here to stay, the omni-channel e-commerce presence?
That's a great question. I think this is a real watershed moment for e-commerce and home shopping networks, but the transition to widespread adoption is going to take some time. At the moment, e-commerce sales haven't, like I mentioned, picked up the slack that's come from stores being closed. But as we settle into the new normal of staying at home consistently, consumers aren't going to have other options but shopping online or turning on the TV and ordering something from QVC. Already, we're noticing in the essential sectors I mentioned, like grocery, online delivery is picking up across Instacart and Walmart and Shipt, the delivery service run by Target. So as online delivery and online shopping is increasing in those essential categories, I imagine that the longer the quarantine processes extend, the more consumers will then turn to exploring discretionary purchases in the same online arena as well.
All right, Halie, awesome insight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.